on? Am I audible?
You are now.
Great, okay, great. Well, thank you everyone. Thank you for a full house. I was afraid that being so close to evening drinks that people might filter out already, but thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to be back and to be speaking with Chris today. Welcome to India.
Thank you, Divia. And Manav, wherever you are, you were right. I got this late speaking slot and I said, that's interesting. I'm not sure if anybody's going to be left, but this is a fabulous crowd. Thanks everybody for sticking around. It probably didn't hurt that we're hosting the cocktail reception, and I said, do not open the bar until we're done with this session. So just in case you are trying to leave, there'll be no drinks served until we're done.
Yeah, this is the grand finale. And I am going to say, there is a scoop, guys. There is going to be a scoop. You're going to hear something for the first time from Hilton. We're not starting with that. We're not starting with that. We got to keep them in the room at least 10 minutes before we do that.
Excellent.
So I'm going to start off with a few other questions. Chris, you've been the CEO now of Hilton for 15 years. You helped take Hilton public. You've got over 1 million rooms. You have 7,000 hotels across 123 countries, and I did not know this until recently, but 150 million Hilton Honors members?
165, but
165, but who's counting?
On our way to 200.
That is incredible. So from this very sort of macro global perspective that you have, tell me, what are the sort of top trends that you're seeing globally right now in the world of travel?
Well, I think you heard about it from the last panel, so I'm not going to make everybody go through that again. Obviously, coming out of COVID, which was a challenging time, we're deep into recovery all throughout the world, with parts of Asia Pacific sort of at the tail end, China in particular, India a bit ahead, but things are quite good in the industry. I pretty famously said at the early stages of COVID, when I was asked by every media outlet on earth, how we'd survive COVID, and sort of the accusation that the industry was changed forever and nobody would travel again, what I thought about the future of hospitality and travel and tourism. I said, we were in a golden age of travel pre-COVID, and I think we'll be in a new golden age of travel post-COVID. I got, rolled eyes, raised eyebrows, and a few chuckles, on network TV when I answered that. But that's in fact what's happening. And so I think the big mega trends are the ones that we all know because we're living those. And that is number one, humans need humans, right? So people want to travel for a lot of reasons. They want to travel more than ever, to have fun, see places, experience cultures. COVID did nothing but accelerate that because, in fact, people realized my freedoms can be taken away from me in ways that I never could have imagined, that haven't happened, globally in 100 years. And so people want to live their life. They want to travel for business because they realize, well, listen, there were efficiencies in Zoom and all of the technology that has developed over time. It's not the same. That the building relationships, building culture, innovation, collaboration, those are all very hard things to do in that format. And I think people have realized that meetings and events, look around, I think we have 650 people here at this event, biggest ever for HICSA. Why? Because people realize, one, they love this industry, I hope, but they also realize that they can't really build their business, they can't really figure out what's going on without the ability to congregate. So I think that the baseline of what we were seeing pre-COVID still exists to this today. I think the thing that probably has shifted more than anything, which has been shifting over, frankly, the last 100 years, is mobility. I think we've had a world that's become, the mega trend is that the world over the last 100 years has become vastly more mobile. People have infrastructure, transportation, technology, and other things that have enhanced their ability to be mobile, and that is fabulous for our industry. And now, because of those things and more flexible work environments in most parts of the world, they have more time now. So, I think we are entering an era where we're going to have ups and downs. I'm by nature a very optimistic person, so it won't be a straight line up. It won't be a straight line up in India. It won't be a straight line up around the world, but it will be a line up, meaning that you're going to continue to see travel and tourism grow at a pace that is amongst the highest industries on earth. We're going to continue to be a massive contributor in global GDP. We're going to continue to be one of the largest employers on earth. And I think for those people that are in the industry or thinking about being in the industry, for the rest of everybody's lifetime in this room, it's going to be a great place to be. You will have to occasionally endure some down cycles, but we've been doing that. I've been in this business for 40 years. I've lived through lots of great times and some not so great times, but again, if you draw the line through it broadly, the trends are up, and I think people want to travel for a lot of reasons.
Chris, I remember reading that you took over this role in around 2007. Is that right?
Yeah,
and that's
that
just
was the
when...
first thing I had to deal with was the global financial meltdown, Great Recession.
Yeah.
That wasn't so fun either.
No, and there's obviously, last year was amazing and everything is back, but there's a lot of people...
You know a funny story about that, because he's sitting right there, my CFO, Kevin Jacobs, and I have worked together a long time, and I've sort of lived through, like, in America, the S&L crisis, the 9/11 crisis, normal recessions, the Great Recession, the pandemic, sort of every one of those, and he and I have worked together for many of those, we'd say, like, well, gosh, we finished the Great Recession. We lived through it. We were part of an LBO. We had a lot of debt, a lot of leverage. A lot of people thought us dead then, and we would say, you know what? Well, the good news is we survived it, and it couldn't be worse than this. And so every single time, it's gotten worse. So I don't know what that means, but I do think, and I'm declaring it here on stage at HICSA, it can never be worse than the pandemic. Like, we have, as an industry, we have suffered the greatest pain that we could ever suffer, and look at us all. We're here, we're vertical. We not only survived, but I think the industry is prospering, and as I said, I think we have tremendous opportunities. But you were going to ask a question.
I was at some point there.
What was the question going to be?
I don't think I remember.
I'm not going to let her ask questions.
I wanted to ask, you've seen a lot of hard times. You've seen the recession, you saw the pandemic. How does something like that, how has the pandemic changed you in the way that you lead the Hilton today? Has it?
Well, you should ask my team, probably. They would have a better view. I don't think it's really changed me a lot. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I've been writing a playbook, for a very long time of how to lead, at least the best that I knew how, and particularly how to lead in crisis. And so the fact is, I kid our team, I said I probably added a couple chapters and I rewrote a few, but the fundamentals, I think, of how you lead, are the same and remain the same through COVID, which is all about, leading, particularly when you have very large groups of people, making sure that they feel there is some purpose to what they do, that everybody in an organization can relate to why they're showing up and they're working, and that what they're doing matters, and that it aggregates to something bigger, that tomorrow will be better than today, that they have opportunity and upward mobility so that they believe that they're recognized and rewarded and celebrated, that they're working against a real plan that has, tangible, ways that can be measured so that you can actually celebrate real successes. I think I could go on, but I think those are the basic tenets, I think, of, at a very high level of leadership. And I think when you're in a crisis, while it's a tenet in good times as well, probably more than ever, it's communication. And so you can have a great plan, you could be working the plan really well and accomplishing a lot, but the reality is, in a scary time, people are looking up, and whether you do or you don't, if you don't, you better fake it. The expectation is you know more than they know, and it's very scary. And so communicating all the time so they understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, what the future is, again, that tomorrow can be a brighter future, that what goes down will come up. Communication's always critical in leadership, but in a time of crisis, much more so, because everybody scared. I mean, during COVID, it'd be foolish to say that, people weren't terrified. They're not only terrified for their jobs, they were terrified for their life in the beginning, not understanding. They were terrified for their loved ones, their children, their parents, if they were elderly. There was a lot to be afraid of. And so part of our job as leaders is in these big organizations, is to put your arms around everybody and get them all moving in a direction and feeling like there's, tomorrow's going to be better than today.
I love that you're saying that. It's so important for people to feel purpose in what they do every day. But obviously this is a time when everyone all over the world is dealing with so many shortages of staff. It's become a real problem with recruitment in this industry, and this is a global phenomenon. What do you say to those people? Why would you tell someone today at that level? Obviously, this is a room full of people that really want to be in hospitality.
I think, if they're here, yeah.
What do you say to everyone else that you want them to join this industry? What gives you purpose?
The good news is we definitely went through a more challenging time, but I think that was true across a lot of industries. Probably more so for us just because of devastating impact. But the reality is, I say this to young people all the time. I spend a lot of time with the young people of our organization. Same reasons I got involved in the business 40 years ago. This is a really interesting business. It is a lot about interesting places, interesting people, a lot of cultural exchange. It is, as represented in this room, an incredibly complex business. I mean, you look across this room and the spectrum of people that do different things, you can pretty much have an interest in anything and be involved in our industry. And it's a big industry, fast-growing industry, large employer with huge upward mobility. I mean, I kid, it happens to be true that my career started in the toilet, literally. I was interested in the business. My father said, well, if you're interested, you should start at the bottom, and I did. I worked in the engineering department when I was 16 years old, and as a low person in the department, the primary job I had involved toilets and plunging them. So when here I am sitting on this stage with you and talking to some of the great leaders in our industry. So there's huge potential in an industry like ours. And if all of that's not enough, I think it is, there's an amazing opportunity to have positive impact. I mean, think of what we do every day. I mean, every day part of our job is the primary part of our job is to be hospitable, to do good things for people, to put smiles on people's faces, to fix problems, to make, when they're unhappy, to make them happy, to create this upward mobility for millions of people that are building lives and careers, to do amazing work in communities. Think about hotels like here. We're the epicenter of every community we're in, and we're involved in the community in very deep ways. There are other industries that have impact. I'm not naive to that. I think there are a few industries that have as much impact as we have. And so for all those reasons, I would say to people, like, jump on board. It'll be a great ride. There's huge opportunity to have a great future, to build your career, and to have a lot of impact on the world.
Well, I'm feeling very inspired. Thank you for that.
Hop in. You're a great customer. Divia was just in the Maldives. Are you going to talk about that at the Waldorf Astoria Maldives?
I guess I'm going to have to.
She loved it. She told me she loved it. So I haven't been yet. She asked me if I'd been. I kidded her. I said, they don't let me go to fun places. I don't get to go to resorts. I'm mostly a city dweller. But
yeah, I have to confess, I was very kindly sent to the Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives this weekend before coming here, so I could get a full Hilton immersion. It is a very tough job some days, and it was spectacular. The F&B experience, the wellness experience, I was telling Chris earlier today. Whenever I speak to people from India that want to go to that talk about why they don't want to go to the Maldives, and they say it's boring, what are the kids going to do, the food is terrible, I felt like the hotel had listened to every one of those complaints and fixed every one of those problems. It was exceptional. So I'm really excited, and I want to ask you, when do we get the brand in India?
I'm going to announce today, so here's your scoop. Waldorf Astoria is coming to India in Jaipur. We had just signed a deal today to do a fabulous 175 room, 125 rooms, 50 villas. That's my team clapping, but for anybody that's thinking about getting married anytime soon, it's going to be a fabulous weddings event.
Well, Chris, you have six
Divia.
daughters. You have six daughters, so at least one of them should be having a destination
I'm not
wedding
sure.
here.
With six, I can't afford to get my daughter's married in India in Jaipur, but I will go visit for sure.
No, this is fantastic news, and I promised you a scoop here. It is the Waldorf Astoria is coming to Jaipur. It's going to be amazing. What a fabulous location and
we
destination.
We have worked on bringing Waldorf to this market for a long time. You can't put them everywhere. We had to really pick carefully, and Jaipur, I think, is the ideal location. So we're very excited.
Wonderful. Well, since we're now on the topic of India and your development here, you currently have 24 hotels, 13 in the pipeline. What are the plans for India beyond the Waldorf Astoria? And here's the real question I have. Why do we not have more Hilton hotels here?
That's a very good question. I would like you to propose to my India team. I'm kidding. It's our India team. Listen, we have a very long history in India, and we've had some ups and downs. When I got to the company 15 years ago, we had no hotels in India. And we realized then, as we have for a long time, that this is probably the best long-term growth market on earth. You have, as everybody in the room knows, 1.4 billion people, and you have 2.6 million rooms. I mean, put it in perspective, the US market, which is the largest lodging market on earth, we have 330 million, and we have double the rooms. We have 5.2 million rooms. And so there's an extraordinary supply of hotel rooms in this market. That has been the case for a while, but it takes time. You have to have all the things the last panel talked about. You have to have a great travel and tourism policy, which we do. You have to have infrastructure. You have to have airports, rail, highways, and all the things that connect all the dots, all of which now, when you look at the last 10 or 20 years, has been invested in and significant continuing investment. You know, we came in and we did some things with some partners that probably in the early years was not great, and we took a step back and said we're going to build a great portfolio of hotels with the best ownership groups in India, which we've done. As I said to you earlier, you can't build a home on a bad foundation. So we wanted to build a foundation. We now have that foundation, and so the idea for us is to really multiply our presence. You know, we are quite small here relative to the scale we have in other markets, and certainly relative to the scale of the population and the opportunity, but we have the foundation. We're 100% committed to this market. I think in the next 3 years, open in pipeline, we have a goal which we think is attainable to have 75 hotels combined, and that'll be the start. I mean, when you wake up in 10 or 20 or 30 years, it should be hundreds, honestly thousands, and the truth is, I think, while we're not exactly where I'd want to be, the reality is, I don't think anybody has really gotten to scale yet in this market, just because it is a very undersupplied market. So we think there's plenty of opportunity. We're very diligent, persistent people. Our brands are great. I think the Indian customers love our brands. We love the outbound Indian market too, which is important. So we can talk about that. And so we have very ambitious plans, which we're going to accomplish with a lot of hard work.
I look forward to it. Is there a dream project for you in India? What are you looking at? What is your dream project in India?
One of them we just signed today, at Waldorf Astoria in Jaipur.
I thought you might say that.
Getting that open, getting that done.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I want to ask you, since you brought up the outbound market, because it is something that I think needs more attention. Obviously, with brands like yours being in India, there is an incredible amount of potential. I just read this a few days ago, but Indians spent just under $7 billion on foreign travel expenditure in 2019. Meanwhile, in just January of this year, they've spent $1.5 billion. So they're on track to spend twice as much as they did this year over last year. How do you see the sort of potential of the Indian outbound market for Hilton?
It's huge. I mean, I think it's in 2019 at its peak, I think it was 27 million, just short of 30 million, which is significant. But I think, given the size of the population, much more potential. In addition to wanting to serve, the the domestic business, which is 700 million trips, which is big. We obviously, as a global brand, need to build loyalty and awareness here so that when Indian travelers travel around the world, they prefer Hilton and they want to stay with us. So our strategy to succeed here is not just about India, it's a large part about India, but it's about the outbound business. I think the potential there is multiples of where it is. There have been a lot of impediments to that more recently. My nighttime job is I agreed to chair the U.S. Travel Association. I just started that role in January, February. There's a lot of issues on visa processing, not just in India, but frankly, in most of the world. While it's been a little bit better, actually, technically, I think there in the first quarter, there will be more visas processed for Indian travelers to come to America than in 2019. The demand is off the charts, and the wait times are still 400 or 500 days. So as my nighttime job at U.S. Travel, we really want to get the U.S. government to set a standard of 21 days or less, and so we're working with the administration on that. We did that during the Obama years. It was not easy, but we did get our country's administration then under Barack Obama very focused on it and set in the major markets that are inbound markets for the U.S., 21 days or less, and they accomplished the goal. So we know it's doable. Coming out of COVID, people weren't worried about opening borders. They were worried about closing borders. So like most countries, we've got to build back the muscle memory, but we're going to work very hard to make sure we can open up those or reduce those barriers to get Indian travelers traveling to America. And I think as a broader matter, tens of millions of travelers will be traveling all over the world, not just America, but Europe and many destinations.
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I was excited to speak with you today, Chris, is because you have been so vocal about that. And there is, I think when it comes to Indians, we all know the floodgates will open.
Some people don't like me being vocal about it, but that's all the more reason reason to talk about it.
Yeah, but it's such an important issue, so thank you for raising that. It's such a powerful platform. I know that we have touched upon sustainability at this particular hotel a little bit earlier, perhaps in the earlier session, but I just wanted to bring that up again because I don't know if everyone is aware, but today's conference is carbon neutral, thanks to your Meet with Purpose program.
Thank you.
Which is huge, but it's also the little things, and I know many of you are probably staying at this hotel, which I think is great.
Hopefully you're staying here too.
I am staying here, thank you. I have a very nice room.
We're recycling water.
Yes, the water bottles.
Solar panels.
Solar panels.
Amenities.
Absolutely.
Recycled water bottles. Well,
yes.
I don't know, Monopoly.
Those are them.
Oh, these are recycled too.
Yeah.
These are ours, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the mugs in the room, and what I was really impressed by is when I walked into the room and you have that giant TV screen, and it wasn't selling me another Hilton hotel, it was telling me about your ESG, and I thought that was fantastic. I have never seen that anywhere else, and hats off, that's a real commitment, and you're really putting your money where the mouth is, so I think that's really amazing. But I'm curious, because of obviously the crowd we have in this room today, does it make business sense, all of these initiatives? Does it make business sense? Does it turn people off? How do you measure that, and how do you balance that?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer?
Well, we have 6 minutes.
It does. So. I won't use it all. It does make sense. And the reality is, as I say to many of our ownership groups, we've set, like all of our business objectives, we set goals, we measure those goals, we reward people for accomplishing it. We do the same thing with our ESG goals. Why? I happen to think it matters. We're in the business of destinations. If we're not proper stewards of our destinations and the environment around us, ultimately there'll be no business for us because people won't be able to travel. But as I say to many owners, not everybody necessarily agrees on that. What we're always trying to find is the intersection of doing good and doing well. And so in the environmental space, there clearly is a value proposition. Well, what is that? Number one, customers care. Not every customer cares, but a lot of customers care. This customer for this event cared that this is a net zero carbon neutral event. It entered into the equation of whether this hotel would be the host hotel. Individual travelers do make judgments on the basis of what our environmental objectives are. Not every single one, but enough and increasingly so that they care. So one, it's a revenue matter, if when you boil it down. Two, almost everything we do has an ROI. So think about it by common sense. If you're using less energy, you're spending less on electricity. If you're producing less waste, you're spending less money removing waste. If you're using less water, you're buying less water. And so we're trying to find those intersections where I can look any owner in the eye anywhere in the world and say, I think it's important we take care of our environment and that we're great stewards for the future. But in any event, there's a positive ROI. If you make these investments, you spend a little bit more money in how you build a hotel. You spend a little bit more money in how you operate to be thoughtful about it, you'll get a return on that investment. You will use less energy, produce less waste, use less water, and ultimately you'll drive greater profitability. And that is our obligation to our ownership community. We don't own any hotel in the world. We have this incredible group of owners represented in this room and tens of thousands around the world. They invest billions and billions of dollars. It's their business. They're trying to drive profitability, and we're a fiduciary to them to drive profitability in every way, including on the environmental side.
I was in a panel a bit earlier today, and one of the questions was about when these big global brands come into India, will they actually empower people on the ground to make decisions that are better for sustainability? Do you feel like owners in India have that sort of power and authority, or empowered to feel like they can at least ask?
I think so, but you'd have to ask them. I think we can always do more to empower both our team here and our ownership community. But the nice thing is, honestly, like this hotel, LEED certification and otherwise, many of our owners are pioneers in the space. They, number one, want to do the right thing. They want to do good things. And number two, they have figured out that there really is a return on that investment. And so so many of them, they're right there with us, leading in this effort. And so that's fabulous. But our job is to make sure that we, as a big ecosystem, that we are able to sort of measure it and tell the stories and cross-pollinate the best ideas. One of the things we did a long time ago, it's very popular to talk about ESG today, right? That's what everybody talks, and the environmental issues. Many, many years ago, I think it's 10, 12 years at this point, we made a brand standard across every brand, every geography, a proprietary technology called LightStay. You can see the reporting on LightStay if you look carefully at when you turn your TV on here. That allows us to measure all of the impact we're having on the environment. That's why we can say we did a net zero event here, because we're actually measuring it. You can't really manage what you don't measure. And so we thought, years ago, we can talk a good game, but in the end, it's just talk until we start measuring it, start sharing best practices, and holding ourselves and others accountable to goals.
That's very well said. Thank you for that. We have under 2 minutes, so I'm going to ask if anyone has a question to please.
And then the bar will open.
Well, you're paying for drinks, Chris.
It probably is open. I don't have a lot of authority here. I've delegated all the authority, so the team here, Manish, is deciding when the bar opens.
Excellent. Well, drinks are hosted by Hilton tonight, so there's going to be a lot of them. Let me just see if we can get in a couple of questions. Okay, Chris, how about this? Name one skill or quality that you possess that has helped you to get to your current position, President and CEO of Hilton.
Steady hand on the wheel.
Oh, now you don't want to elaborate? Can you elaborate just a little?
The ability to lift up, not get overreact to things.
Okay.
Our business is a high beta. I said mine is up. If you want a longer answer, you can always get one out of me. But there's a lot of volatility in the business. It's just inherent in the business. It's a complicated world. We're operating all over the world. And if you get hysterical all the time, it's very tough. So I think, I think I'm steady by nature, and I've trained myself over the years to be even more steady, keep a steady hand, lift up, look at the big picture, take a deep breath. Your people are looking for you to lead them to a better place, and if you're hysterical, your people will not follow you.
calm in the face of a storm. Okay, that's good. One more.
Even better. Yeah.
Our industry was quick to adapt to norms during COVID, but why have we struggled to innovate, whether it be in terms of tech, distribution, product, and business models?
I can't hear you. What was the question?
Do you feel like the industry
Oh.
is innovating in these spaces when it comes to tech, distribution, product, and business models?
The honest truth is I think our industry has not been great at innovation. Historically, I think we're getting better at it rapidly. I certainly am proud of the work at Hilton we're doing, and I do believe on a global basis we're leading the charge on innovation. I think there have been a lot of contributing factors. I think we are doing better, but we haven't always as an industry really listened to the voice of the customer. And I think if you look at it, in a very pragmatic way, most of the technology, certainly, for the global systems, has been really antiquated technology. The thing that has made the biggest difference for us is completely retooling our tech stack to a very modern tech stack that allows us to act like any startup on earth and be able to be very flexible and very quick on our feet. And so I think everybody's sort of migrating. All the new players are there because they started there. All the bigger, more mature players are migrating there, which I think means that by definition, everybody's going to be able to be a lot more thoughtful and a lot faster in innovation. I hope we're faster than everybody else. That's the trick, to keep our customers happier and get more share of the business than everybody else. And so I think we have a ways to go. I'm very proud of what we're doing, but we're trying to put our foot on the accelerator and move faster. We had done some things pre-COVID that helped us a lot in COVID. Simple things like digital check-in, room selection, all of that. It was ubiquitous for us. Nobody else in the industry. I don't think anybody in the industry has still done room selection. Like you can actually pick a room in every single hotel in the world. You pick an airline seat. And nobody had really, across the globe had done digital check-in. It turns out, we didn't know a global pandemic was coming, but that was a very handy thing to have in a world where people wanted contactless check-in. And with a whole bunch of other things that we're doing with a very modern tech stack that I think will be great for customers, and I think will create efficiencies for owners. So we live in a world that's phygital in every aspect of our life. We're always going to be a business of people serving people, so it's always going to be about the people curating great experiences, but there's a whole bunch of stuff we do that we can do better digitally to free up the people to do other things, and so we're pushing very hard to take those things and do them digitally so our people can do things that matter more, and sort of blending the physical and digital in a more thoughtful way. And so more to come, but we're picking up steam.
Well, on that note, thank you very much, Chris. This was great, and congratulations on a wonderful HICSA at the Hilton in Bangalore.